The housing benefit changes which are coming in were brought in at the recent 2012 emergency budget, measures to cut housing benefit expenditure, which initially, there are two areas, as you know, in housing benefit. The housing benefit claim for the private sector, and obviously people who rent in social landlords, housing association flats, council flats. In the private rented sector, it's not strictly called housing benefit, it's called local housing allowance, but for the sake of this point, we'll just call it housing benefit. The measures which have been brought in with the emergency budget with regards to housing benefit for the privately rented sector are measures which include reducing the maximum size for anyone who can rent a property from 5 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. It's also massively cutting down on people who rent privately and how much as a maximum they can get in housing benefit. So for a 1-bedroom flat, it's £250, a 2-bedroom flat, it's £290, a 3-bedroom flat, £340, a 4-bedroom flat, £400. Now, in Hackney, where I live, which is not the most salubrious area in London, £250 would not get you a 1-bedroom flat a week. It just would not get. And I think the impact that this will have, particularly amongst families maybe with 1 or 2 children, is there will be overcrowding. I think that's what you're going to see over the next 2 or 3 years. You're going to see families with maybe 2 or 3 children living in a 1-bedroom flat or a 2-bedroom flat, but probably a 1-bedroom flat because they cannot rent anywhere else. Another proposal is that anyone under 35 will now be subject to the single room rent. So this is the idea that if you're 35, you're a single bloke, single woman, you can no longer rent a 1-bedroom flat and expect to get housing benefit. You will have to rent a single room, not a 1-bedroom flat. And that is another attack on predominantly working class people. And let's be honest about it, in London, the majority of people who claim housing benefit are working. It's not as if it's the work shy, which is what the Tories say. The majority of people who claim housing benefit in London are working. They're not claiming JSA, they're not claiming income support, they are working. And that's going to affect people who are working under 35, will not get housing benefit if they are in a 1-bedroom flat. There are exceptions which I haven't got time to go into here, but generally that's the rule. The Welfare Reform Act of 2012, which received royal assent in March 2012, introduced further powers to make further changes. And as a result, the relationship between actual rents and housing benefit entitlement will widen to the point where it's forcing people out of, if you like, zones 1 and 2, and even 3, forcing them out to 6, 7 and 8. It's basically the social cleansing of London. That is effectively what they're trying to bring about. With regards to the housing benefits and social tenants, from the 1st of April 2013, housing benefit will reduce for council and other social rented sector tenants where the number of bedrooms exceeds a certain level. Now, you've probably heard of this and described as the bedroom tax, and in effect, new regulations allow 1 bedroom for each of the following. So you'll have 1 bedroom for a couple, 1 bedroom for 2 children of the same sex. So if a couple's got 2 children of the same sex, 2 bedrooms. If they've got 3 bedrooms, tough. You're going to get taxed, you're going to have your housing benefit reduced by 14%. You're going to have 1 bedroom if you have a child. So if you're a couple or you're a single person with a child, you can have a 2-bedroom. If you're a couple with a child, you can have a 2-bedroom. Basically, what it's trying to do is cut down the idea of under-occupying, which is fine. You know, people in social housing who are in big properties, it's probably better for them as well that they're in smaller properties. But the reality is, there is not the financial incentive to move, and also those kind of properties, smaller properties, large properties, are not available. This is a sledgehammer to crack a nut. It could be done in a different way. And what effectively it means for people who've lived in communities for a long time, maybe generations, their kids have left home, they might have a 2 or 3 bedroom property. Instead of councils encouraging them to move or coming up with deals to encourage them to move, they're getting punished for being in bigger properties. 14% if they've got a spare bedroom or they don't fit the rules. 25% cut in your housing benefit. And how many of our billionaires from our Sunday Times article live in a 1 or 2 bedroom flat? I'm sure they've got 3 or 4 mansions. It's okay for them to have their billions and to live in their big properties, but for our class, we get punished if by chance we manage to have a spare bedroom and we're unfortunate enough to be claiming housing benefit. It's an absolute disgrace. It's another attack on working class people. It's another attack by this Tory government which has to be resisted. I've been reading about my colleagues here who've been taking up the campaign against the council, and I would encourage people who have got these issues to take up the campaigns directly. Let's take these cuts, these disgraceful attacks on working class people to the Tory MPs, but also let's take these attacks also to the people who have let us down. The Labour Party has let us down. The Labour Party is meant to be the voice of working class people. The Labour Party who's set up by working class people who sacrificed in the 20s and 1930s, they have let us down. The Glenda Jacksons around here who wouldn't know what it's like to live in working class communities, they have let us down and served the local councils who have refused to fight these attacks. Just very quickly on universal credit, there's a cap. This is going to be introduced in rolled out in October 2013. And under the Welfare Reform Act 2013, income support, job seekers allowance, ESA, housing benefit, child tax credit, working tax credit is to be replaced by universal credit from October 2013. Very clever though how the Tories are dealing with this. It's not in one fell swoop. It's been rolled out very carefully over a period of 2 years. So it's not like the poll tax where you know it's coming and we can fight. It's been rolled out over a period of time. Universal credit will be paid monthly, which for many people who are paid weekly and budget weekly, that's very difficult for people to deal with. And the level of universal credit will depend on other income. But there will be a maximum benefit for every family of £500. £500. So you get your £500, that's to pay your rent and to live on. If you're a single person, £350. That's £350 for your rent and to live on. So you can see what the Tories are trying to do, particularly in places like London. It's to socially cleanse London, to get the working class, to get the poor. We didn't create this crisis, but we're being blamed for this crisis, and this is the legislation that's being brought in. I've just got to very quickly conclude. The chair is a very strict chair, quite rightly, so we don't want me to go on too long. The very final point I'll make is on the Localism Act, which I think my colleagues who are going to speak in a minute are potentially going to suffer from. Homeless people who are unfortunate enough to become homeless families can go, up until recently, to the Homeless Persons Unit. They apply as homeless, they're placed in temporary accommodation, usually in the locality, and then eventually and hopefully, despite the fact that social housing is no longer being built, will eventually and hopefully get into social housing, whether that be housing association or council. The Localism Act, the misnomer which is a Localism Act, is effectively saying to councils, you don't no longer have to do this. You can discharge your duty into the privately rented sector. And as we've already discovered, if you go into the privately rented sector, you can't actually afford to live there in the privately rented sector in the future. When you're in temporary accommodation, which they're meant to provide you in the locality, they can now, or in the future, provide it outside the locality. And when I mean outside the locality, I'm not saying outside of the borough, I'm saying outside of London. They can provide you with accommodation, temporary accommodation in Milton Keynes, Great Yarmouth, Liverpool, Manchester, whatever. That's what they can do. And obviously, me legally, I can challenge that and say it's not reasonable, whatever. But actually, it's a campaign that's been waged by the comrades on the platform and the comrades in the Socialist Party in Brent to put local representatives on the spot. How dare you think about sending people outside the locality? What kind of communities are we trying to build when we're sending people outside the locality? I'll just sum up with one point. You see, people often ask me, why did I become a solicitor? And I do honestly say this, I'm not just saying it for the benefit of this meeting. I actually became a solicitor because the revolution didn't happen. I was a full-time political activist for the Socialist Party many years ago after the miners' strike. And, you know, with the miners' strike, we had them on the rocks. We beat them a little bit with Liverpool, we beat them with the poll tax. And in a sense, what we've got happening, not just in the UK and Britain, means that we have got to rediscover organising collectively, campaigning collectively, and putting these public representatives on the spot and making them accountable for this disgraceful set of regulations and laws which is attacking working class people. Finally, I'd say just one final thing is, if you're not a member of the Socialist Party, I've been a member of the Socialist Party 26 years, if you're not a member of the Socialist Party, I would say to join the Socialist Party, to come on board, to be part of the campaign, not just to get rid of the Tories, not just to build an active and thriving community of socialist activists, of working class activists, but ultimately we need a better society. We deserve a better society. The money is there clearly because they're making the money hand over fist. We're not greedy, we just want the world. That's